Welcome to Green Beans, the show where we sit on green and eat beans. Oh my goodness, Jared.
Yeah, I think this is why I normally do the intro.
This is Ethan and my brother Jared. He's also my co host. And yeah, this is why I don't do the intro and Jared does it.
Yeah, we decided to try something new. I've done the intro every episode, welcoming you guys back to Green Beans, where two boys dressed in green sit on beans and chat about life. But I decided to give Ethan a try, and I think
I'm not very good at it.
we should stick with me for the future. But
I
that's all right.
agree. So yeah, I want to kick off this episode with an epic dinosaur fact. But of course, it has to be Ethan's fantastic fossil facts.
Of course.
A little less alliteration as usual, but that's okay. And to start us off, I'm going to do something a little more recently discovered. So, in carnivores, so think about your like T Rex and Velociraptor,
Okay.
there are a lot of small carnivores found in the fossil record and big carnivores. But
Mhm.
there's not many medium sized carnivores found in the fossil record,
Huh.
which, compared to animals today, isn't really that common. So we're like, okay, why is that? And one of the theories that's been proposed is that young juvenile carnivores of the very large carnivores like T-Rex are actually filling up the medium carnivore niche. The medium carnivore. Yeah, niche.
Okay.
And so that's why we're not seeing very many medium carnivores in the fossil record, because instead it's juvenile T-Rexes, Spinosaurus, Giganotosaurus, all those really big guys. The juveniles are medium sized, and they have a completely different diet than the big ones.
Interesting.
So they kind of outcompeted the medium sized ones.
Huh.
But that's
Pretty cool.
just a theory. A
Dino
theory.
theory.
Dino theory.
All right.
So yeah, that's my fossil fact for today.
All right, kicking it off with a fossil fact, doing something a little different.
Yeah.
Then I guess we can sort of recap our week. We're recording this earlier in the week than we usually would because we're going on a trip for like a family reunion sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we got to record it a bit earlier than normal. So not much time has passed since we recorded the last episode. But anything interesting happened in your life so far?
I went to work.
Wow, very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, not really much happened either. I also went to work. Yeah, that's kind of it. So,
Yeah, I will give one little story. I delivered to one person's house who basically lived the farthest you could that we delivered to.
yeah.
I was like, oh, great, a far delivery. But then I get there, and they had a loud dog, which is not the best when you're delivering. Do people like loud dogs? If you like a loud dog, there's something wrong with you.
You're messed up in the head.
But yeah, very loud dog and bees.
Oh,
Yeah, they had a bees nest right in their front porch. And so I was like giving the guy the pizza, and then like bees started swarming me. I'm like, no thanks. I'm out of here.
yeah.
I did not get stung though.
That's good. All right. Yeah, I don't think anything really interesting with me happened. I've been doing some planning for our Dungeons and Dragons group that I'm the dungeon master of, and you're a player in.
Yeah.
So I've been planning some fun stuff for our upcoming sessions, but other than that, not really anything worth note. So I guess we can just sort of move on to the bulk of today's episode, which I think is going to be fun. We're doing something a bit different than we normally would with
This
telling
is a
stories.
different episode. Everything is different.
Yeah, we're just like shaking things up, like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're gonna play a game.
A game? What type of game might this be, Jared?
Well, since you asked, this is gonna be a game where each of us has prepared 3 pieces of media, 1 movie, 1 TV show, and 1 book that we personally have seen, but the other brother has not seen or read.
Dun dun dun.
I know, crazy. And then pretty much we are going to give the other person a list of main characters from one of these pieces of media, and then they're going to have to try their best to explain the plot of whatever movie, book, whatever, explain the plot of it without having ever seen it.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there anything you want to add before we just jump right into it?
No, I think we can go right in. Let's do it.
All right. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start?
How about you start?
Wait, what?
Wait a second.
Wait, which is
Start
starting?
what?
Is starting like is me starting giving you thing?
Okay, give me something,
'kay,
and
okay.
I will try to figure it out.
All right. So I guess we can start with my movie. So this is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Mamma Mia, and I love Mamma Mia a lot, but unfortunately, Ethan has never seen it. So I have a list of. Where is it? Here we go. I have a list of characters from Mamma Mia, and here you go. You can read those out, and then you're gonna have to tell me what's Mamma Mia about, and tell me the plot of Mamma Mia.
Okay. Oh, you put a lot of characters. Wow. Sky, Rosie, Tanya, Donna, Sophie, Sam, Bill, Harry. Okay. So, what I understand from Mamma Mia is based on the name, there's got to be some type of reference to them saying Mamma Mia.
Okay.
So they're all Italian.
Okay.
All of them. Every
Okay.
single one is Italian. And Sky is going to be the main character, okay?
Okay.
She's the main Italian woman.
Okay.
And she is trying to find her mom.
All right.
And she needs the help of Rosie and Tanya to find her mom in Italy
Okay.
because they're all Italian.
Okay. What happened to her mom?
She disappeared. No one knows where she went. But
Okay.
they do believe that the Italian mafia had something to do with it.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. And so Sky, Rosie, and Tanya, they go on an adventure to find Sky's mama. Wait, yeah, Sky's mama.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mamma Mia.
Yes.
And on the way, they come into a few struggles. You know, they meet Donna and Sophie. And Donna and Sophie are mobsters.
Of course. Naturally.
Yeah, so they had to fight. And luckily, Sky, Rosie, and Tanya, they beat who is it? Danya and Sophie, in the mobster battle
Oh, okay.
with lots of guns and explosions.
Obviously. Mamma Mia, big action-packed movie, of course.
But we can't forget about the love scenes though. So after
Oh.
the mobsters are defeated, Sky meets 3 boys.
Mm.
Sam, Bill, and Harry. And now she has to choose which one she wants to kiss.
Okay.
And here's the thing. 2 of them work for the mafia, and one of them doesn't.
Oh.
And so she has to figure out which ones work for the mafia and which ones don't. But then Rosie tells her that... So Rosie's telling her that Sam doesn't work for the mafia, and Tanya's telling her that Bill doesn't work for the mafia.
Oh. So who does she believe?
She believes that Harry doesn't work for the mafia.
Oh.
And so she kisses him, and the other 2, Sam and Bill, they pull out their machine guns, and then Rosie and Tanya pop them because those 2 were the ones that worked for the mafia.
Oh, dang.
And then they
Okay.
get shot. I'm sorry, this is getting a little violent. So then Sky, Rosie, Tanya, and Harry now go find Sky's mama. And when they find Sky's mama, who wasn't... Here's the twist. She
Oh.
wasn't captured by the mafia. She is the mafia.
Oh, dang!
What?
Crazy
She's
plot twist.
She is the big honcho up there. And then she's like, Mamma Mia, what a twist.
That's the exact line from the movie, of course.
And then the movie ends.
Okay.
So how accurate do you think I was?
Okay. Well, not at all. First of all,
What?
Sky is a guy.
Who
Sky.
names a guy Sky? I feel like Sky would be a girl.
Also, Sky's not the main character. The main
Well, that's just
character. The
misleading.
main character is Sophie, and
Okay.
I don't think there's any guns in the movie, to my memory. And I mean, you weren't too far off with guessing that it was from Italy. It actually takes place on a Greek island.
I was close.
You were close. And here I have prepared a actual. Let me grab it. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. There we go. I have prepared an actual very short little description of the plot of Mamma Mia, so I'll read it out. So Donna, who is played by Meryl Streep, is an independent hotelier, so she owns a hotel in the Greek islands, and she is preparing for her daughter's wedding with the help of two old friends. So her daughter is Sophie, and her two old friends are Tanya and Rosie.
Okay.
And meanwhile, Sophie, the spirited bride, has a plan. She secretly invites 3 men from her mother's past in hope of meeting her real father and having him escort her down the aisle on her big day. So pretty much, in Mamma Mia, Sophie has just grown up on this island with her mother her whole life, who owns a hotel on this island.
Is that why it's called Mamma Mia?
Well, okay, so it's a musical, which you didn't mention in your summary.
What I meant to say was it was a musical action movie.
Of
That's
course,
what I meant
obviously,
to say.
that's what you meant.
Every time they'd do a fight scene, they'd sing it through.
Yeah, they break out in song mid-stabby, mid-guns.
Mid guns.
But then, but Sophie's father has not been involved in her life at all. She doesn't know who her dad is, and her mother, Donna, didn't really tell her much about her dad. But then she's getting married to a guy named Sky, and
Darn.
yeah, Sky doesn't really play that huge of a part in the movie, but he is the fiance and the reason for the wedding. And pretty much Sophie wants her father to walk her down the aisle at her wedding, excuse me. But she doesn't know who her father is. And so she sort of steals one of her mother's diaries from the time around where she was born, and she starts reading it to see if she can get any information on who her father might be. And in this diary, she finds 3 possible men that could all be her father, and she doesn't know which one is her father. There's Sam, there's Bill, and there's Harry. So there's the 3 guys. And so they're not in the mafia. They are just 3 guys that are potential fathers for Sophie.
I was close. Potential mobsters, potential fathers. Same thing, right?
Pretty much, essentially.
Yeah.
And then she, without her mother knowing, she decides to invite all 3 of them to her wedding. And she thinks that just as soon as she sees them, she'll know which one's her dad. But when they all show up, she has no clue which one is her father, and her mother doesn't know that all of these 3 men from her past have come. And then, various chaos ensues.
So why is it called Mamma Mia?
Okay, so it's a musical, right? And it's music by ABBA, and they the entire every single song in the movie is from ABBA. And one of the main songs in the movie is Mamma Mia. That's what the song is called. It's like, Mamma Mia, here I go again, and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's why it's called Mamma Mia.
Well, I was close.
Yeah, I mean, you were pretty much there.
All right. I didn't cut my sheets out. They're all on
That's
one.
fine.
So the movie I want you to figure out the plot of is Fast and Furious. The first one.
Okay.
I think it's properly called The Fast and the Furious.
All right. So yeah, I've never seen Fast and Furious, but let me read this list of characters. So we got Dominic Toretto, who I believe is played by Vin Diesel, from my knowledge.
You know too much.
Oh no.
Yes, yes.
Brian O'Connor, Letty, and Mia Toretto. Okay. Or is it Maya?
It's Mia.
Mia. Okay. So, Fast and the Furious, it obviously takes place in America. And we got our main character, Vin Diesel, or Dominic Toretto. Okay. And he's a police officer. Okay. I do know a tiny bit about these movies, so I don't know if I'm getting anything correct so far. But that's okay. So Dom, I think Dom. I'm gonna call him Dom.
That's what people call him, Dom,
Yeah.
in the movie.
So Dom is a police officer, but then it's sort of like a little bit of a plot twist because he's actually also a criminal, because he really likes street racing. Even though he's a police officer and like street racing not super legal, it's like, ooh, what do I do? Do I pursue my dreams of street racing, or do I arrest all of my street racing friends? You know, it's a big inner conflict with Dom in the movie, obviously. And then that's where we bring in Brian O'Connor, who is Dom's husband. And Dom's husband, Brian, is also his racing partner. But Dom is living a secret life because his husband, Brian, doesn't know that he's a police officer. And so, Dom and Brian are like racing every weekend and doing crazy against the law stuff. But little does Brian know, Dom could arrest him at any time, and all of the other people there. So yeah, and then obviously that there's some like really cool cars, because I'm pretty sure the movies are a lot about cars.
Yep.
So they drive really cool cars. There's probably like a purple car, and I bet Dom and Brian's favorite car that they drive everywhere is like bright green and has a huge spoiler, obviously. And yeah, so then sort of more crazy stuff happens when Dom's mother, Mia Toretto, shows up. And she is on the same side as Brian, where she is aware that Dom is a big street racing criminal guy, but doesn't know he's secretly a police officer. You see, it's sort of different, because you would expect it would be like somebody is known for being a police officer, but then, secretly they're mischievous and a criminal. But this one, it's the reverse. Everybody thinks that he's a criminal, when in reality, he's a police officer. But this movie is obviously from the perspectives that criminals are the best and that the police are bad. So, you know, Mia then is visiting Dom, her son, and her son-in-law, Brian. And then she discovers, while staying at their house, a secret closet where Dom keeps all of his police officer things, where he has his police uniform and his badges and his walkie-talkies and all of his police stuff. And Mia is just totally disturbed by this and is outraged and confronts Dom, and he admits that he's secretly been a police officer all this time, and she is just so sad about this. So she leaves, and then she decides, and then she becomes the villain of the movie, because she decides that to punish her son for being a police officer, rather than a street racing criminal, like she always wanted for him, she is going to beat him in the upcoming huge important street race that everybody knows about and loves. So then, and she has her racing partner, who is Letty. Okay, and Letty, we don't really get to know Letty that well in the movie, of course. Letty is a person whose gender I'm still trying to decide. Let's go with Letty's a guy, okay? Okay, and Letty, so Mia, Dom's mother, hires Letty. Or does she? Yeah, sure. She hires him to be her street racing partner, because obviously when you do street races, you have a partner, because I know all about street racing.
Of course, of course.
And so then it's like this big like climax in the movie where it's a race at the big drag race, or not drag race. That's a different thing. Street race. The big street race where we got Dom and Brian competing against Mia and Letty, and it's like, ooh, who's gonna win? Dom, our hero, and his husband Brian, or is it gonna be his evil mother and her friend Letty? So yeah, then sort of it ends in a tie actually, and they tied, and then they realize, oh, we tied, so we're friends again, and I love you, and then they hug, and that's the end of the movie.
And their family, right?
Yes, they became one big happy family at the end.
Um, I think you were closer to it than I was to Mamma Mia.
Obviously, I mean, I think I just got it spot on. That is the plot of the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, so you're correct in there's a police officer.
Yeah.
But that's Brian. Brian's the police officer.
Oh, okay.
And here, let me pull up the synopsis real quick.
All right. We're going to discover how accurate I truly was, which, I don't know. I haven't seen that movie, but I'm pretty sure if I watched the movie right now, it would be exactly.
All right. So the one sentence synopsis here is Los Angeles police officer Brian O'Connor must decide whether his loyalty really lies where his loyalty really lies when he becomes enamored with the street racing world he has been sent undercover to destroy.
I was not that far off.
Okay. So Brian's a police officer, and he has been tasked with finding out like who so okay, let me start off with there's these criminals that have been they're in Honda Civics because that's important.
Okay.
Who've been hijacking vehicles and like stealing their stuff to become millionaires and stuff. And he knows they're part of the street racing world, so he goes undercover as a street racer to find out who they are.
Oh, okay.
And then he meets Dominic Toretto. Letty is Dominic's love interest.
Oh.
So Letty's a girl.
I was not right about that.
Yeah. And Mia is Dominic's sister.
Oh, okay.
Who Brian eventually falls for. And so yeah, they start doing street races, and Brian essentially like becomes a part of their family because family's really important in that movie.
Of course.
And he becomes friends with Dominic, but then he realizes that Dominic is the person who's been doing all these hijacks with like Letty is her name, and and a few other characters I didn't include.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brian then is conflicted because he's like, well, these are people I genuinely like and I trust them, but also I'm a police officer and they're criminals. So he's conflicted with that. I think he then turns them in and Dominic gets all angry, but then he decides to bust them out. And yeah.
So I was like, I was kind of close.
Yeah, but then you got that famous scene at the end where Brian and Dominic are racing. Brian's in a Toyota Supra and Dominic's in a Dodge Challenger, and they like race across the train tracks, you know.
Of course.
But yeah, it was that movie's there's a lot of races in it, and in street racing and drag racing, you don't need a partner. It's just rally that you need a partner.
See, the reason I thought I didn't really know if you needed a partner or not, so I just went with the fact that you did.
That's in rally.
I was thinking about the video game Cyberpunk 2077, and when you do street races in that game, you need a partner.
Well, yeah, that's because in that game, it's a street race to the death. Your partner shoots people.
That's true. That's true. All right. So I guess we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
I guess we'll go with the TV show. So my TV show that I have seen and you have not is The Umbrella Academy. So I apologize. I have a very big list of characters from
Oh
The
man.
Umbrella Academy because it's that type of show with lots of people in it. But yeah, there's 2 seasons of that show currently out. I just want you to tell me the plot of The Umbrella Academy season 1.
Okay. All I know about this show is that I think they have supernatural abilities. That's all I know, I believe. Okay. So, the Umbrella Academy is an academy where they produce umbrellas.
Okay.
But that's only on the outside. On the inside, they harvest children. Wait, that's not the right. They not harvest, but they like train children with
Okay. Yeah.
supernatural
Yeah.
abilities to be, to know how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh, let's say a few of these people with abilities are Allison, Luther, Diego, Claus, like Santa Claus,
Klaus.
Klaus, and number 5. Number 5 actually seems like a bad guy. So number 5 is a bad guy.
Okay.
And so some of these people have supernatural abilities, and some of these abilities can be like breathing underwater, laser eyes, teleportation. Kind of like X-Men abilities, I guess.
Okay.
And so then they have to, their task is to figure out who number 5 is, because they don't know who number 5 is, and
Mhm.
kill him.
Oh.
And they do that by espionage.
Okay.
So they hire some non-ability spy guys. So they're just regular people. That's Vanya, Ben, Leonardo, Reginald, and the handler. He's number 5's right-hand man.
Of course.
Yeah. And so they know who the handler is. So they hire all of those people I just mentioned to go and find the handler so they can interrogate him. But then the handler is actually someone with a supernatural ability, and so he kills them all the spies. And so the people with the supernatural abilities are like, "Yo, that's not cool." So they go after the handler and defeat him. But then they couldn't find out where number 5 was.
Mm-hmm.
So, what they do is they get their umbrellas
Yeah.
and they fly across the ocean
Oh.
like Mary Poppins.
Okay.
And after they do that, they're in Europe. And in Europe, they find, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, it takes place in the US.
Obviously.
And after they fly across the ocean to Europe, they find number 5. But number 5, she is actually a goat.
Oh.
And so they kill her and the season ends.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
I feel like my descriptions of these movies kind of are the same.
I
They
mean,
need to
no,
find
there
someone-
was less mafia in this in the Umbrella Academy than there was. Okay, okay. So I'll read my actual description of the Umbrella Academy. So you weren't too far off with like there's some academy where they train kids with supernatural abilities. That is not entirely wrong. There were kids with supernatural abilities, so you got that correct, and you knew that. But here, I'll read this just brief paragraph. So on the same day in October 1989, 43 infants are inexplicably, yeah, that's that word, born to random, unconnected women who showed no signs of pregnancy the day before. 7 of them are adopted by Sir Reginald Hargreaves, who is a billionaire industrialist who creates the Umbrella Academy and prepares his children to save the world. But not everything went according to plan. In their teenage years, the family fractured and the team disbanded. Now, almost 30 years old, I believe it takes place in 2019, the 6 surviving members reunite upon the news of Hargreaves' passing. So the dude that adopted them is dead. in 2019. And Luther, Diego, Allison, Klaus, Vanya, and number 5, who are the children, work together to solve a mystery surrounding their father's death. But the estranged family once again begins to come apart due to their divergent personalities and abilities, not to mention the imminent threat of a global apocalypse. So, pretty much, just some day in whatever year that said, 1989, there were just, throughout the whole world, there were a bunch of women that just like randomly gave birth, even though they weren't pregnant.
Okay.
And then all of these children are like these mysterious beings, and there's this rich billionaire, Reginald Hargreaves, who decides to adopt a bunch of them. He adopts 7 of these kids, and then finds out that all of these kids have superpowers, and he trains them to become like heroes.
What happens to all the others?
Well, that's where we get into the character Leonard. He is, we're gonna get into some spoilery stuff. So if you don't want spoilers,
Spoiler alert
for Umbrella Academy, maybe skip a bit. But Leonard turns out to be another one of these people that was born the same day who has superpowers, but he was not adopted, and yeah, he's kind of salty about that. So that sort of gets into some
He's
stuff.
salty about not getting adopted.
Yeah, because he wanted to be with the Umbrella Academy because they became famous. The Umbrella Academy became famous because they were these really cool kids. But yeah, so the reason one of them is named number 5 is because I believe all of the kids didn't get names until they were older, and their mother named them. But Reginald didn't. Reginald was like a bad person, and he didn't treat them like kids. And he like treated them really bad, and it was all about like training all the time, with like not letting them live their lives. So we had, and he just called them numbers. So like Allison, I believe, was number 1. I think maybe Diego was number 2, or maybe Luther. I think Luther was number 1, and then Diego was number 2. Allison was number 3. Maybe Klaus was number 4, and then there was number 5, and it went all the way up to 7.
Okay.
And then, yeah, and all these kids had powers, and then, yeah, pretty much the reason he's named number 5 and doesn't have a name like the rest of them is because when they were younger, number 5 went missing, and his, which it turns out, and once again, spoiler alert, that because his ability was teleportation. That was his superpower, and like some of the other characters' superpowers were like mind control and speaking with the dead and like super strength, things like that. And number 5's ability was teleportation. But then it turns out that he discovered he could time travel, and so he time traveled into the future. But he went way too far, or he went farther than he meant to, or I don't remember exactly because I watched this show when it came out in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he time traveled, and then he couldn't figure out how to get his way back. And so they don't know what happened to number 5. But then, yeah, it turns out that this lady called the Handler, she's sort of similar to like the TVA in the show Loki, where it's like she controls, like works for this organization that controls the timeline. And then she hires number 5, because when he teleported to the future, he discovered that he was in an apocalypse. And he got really lonely, and he found a newspaper that said the end of the world is like I don't remember. The end of the world's in 2019, and there's like some global apocalypse, and he teleports in time after to where that apocalypse happens. Obviously, I'm sure I'm confusing many people right now, but
yeah, it's quite complicated.
Yeah, there's time travel, and pretty much, yeah. Then he number 5 ends up figuring out how to time travel back to time, but then he gets trapped in his younger self body, and there's more to it. I won't go more into it. I think that's enough. But
well, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So the show let's move on to mine.
Yeah.
The show I decided to do is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure
Okay.
Part 2: Battle Tendency.
Okay.
Because you know what? Yeah.
All right.
Just go for
it's
it.
It's a TV show I have never seen before.
Yes.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency. So our characters are Joseph Joestar, Caesar Zeppeli, Stroheim, Robert E.O. Speedwagon, Cars, AC/DC,
ACDC.
AC like the band,
Hmm.
and WAMU. Okay, so JoJo's Bizarre Adventure battle tendency. Well, you see, we got the main character, Joseph Joestar, and he, his nickname is JoJo, of course, hence the name of the show.
Oh yeah.
And JoJo, he discovers that one day he just like wakes up and there's this guy standing in his room named Caesar Zappelli. And he like has no clue. He just woke up one morning. There's this dude in his room that he has no clue who he is. And then Caesar's like, "You're a wizard, JoJo," and pretty much explains that JoJo is actually a magical dude. He's a wizard and he knows magic. But JoJo never knew this before. And then Caesar is like, "Come with me if you want to live," and yeah. So he this is a very original show, of course. And so JoJo goes with Caesar, who's gonna train him in the magical arts. And so then they go to this underground secret hideout base, where Caesar lives, and he also has a lot of other wizard kids living there, such as Stroheim, Robert E.O., Speedwagon, Cars, and AC/DC. Those are all of his other wizard kids that he has in this underground bunker. And Caesar's like an older guy, and he is a master of wizardry and magic. So he decides to teach all these kids how to, master magic themselves. Because there is this big villain named Wamu, and Wamu is also a magic user, a wizard, but Wamu is evil. And Wamu sent a letter to Caesar saying, "Yo, Caesar, I'm Wamu, I'm evil, I'm gonna battle you, because I have some tendencies that make me want to battle." Hence the name, Battle Tendencies. So now...
Wait, hold on.
Okay,
You know what I realized? I forgot to add a character.
okay.
Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa is obviously Wamu's sidekick in the show. So, yeah, now Caesar is gonna battle Wamu, and so Caesar is developing his team of JoJo, Stroheim, Robert E.O., Speedwagon, and Cars, and SCDC. And that's his team of young wizards that he's gonna have help him battle Wamu. And Wamu has his sidekick. What did you say?
Lisa.
Lisa, of course. And so yeah, then they all sort of like, there's like a big montage in the show of like, "Ooh, let's train, yeah," and then they're getting real strong and powerful, and then eventually, we time jump, of course, to about like a year when they've all trained, and then they're ready for this big battle, and then they show up, they're about to battle, and that's where the season ends. On a cliffhanger. What's going to happen between the battle of Caesar and all his wizard children and Wamu. And yeah, that's what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendencies is about.
Okay. Yeah, so could I see the sheet for a second?
Yeah.
So
Tell me, how absolutely correct about everything was I?
I mean, you're right that Joseph Joestar's the main character.
Let's go.
And he's actually called JoJo in this show.
Yep.
But yeah, so they have these powers called it's not really it's like a superpower, but it's like a secret technique.
Like magic. Huh?
I don't know. It's a breath technique called hamon. It means ripple in Japanese.
Okay.
And so basically they can like do things like hamon punches and they can stick to wall. The hamon's kind of weird. It's a weird power.
Okay.
And so Joseph and Caesar are allies. Joseph has a lot of hamon, but he's not very good at it. And
Oh.
Caesar is like good at it. So Caesar's like, Joseph, you suck. And so it starts off. Let's see. I'll read the synopsis. Taking place in 1938 and 1939, the story follows the misadventures of Joseph Joestar, grandson of Jonathan, as he masters his innate ripple abilities in order to combat hostile ancient super beings named the Pillarmen, creators of the stone mask that plot to become the ultimate life forms.
I mean, that's pretty much exactly what I said, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically an adventure about a Brit, Joseph Joestar, an Italian, a Nazi. Stroheim is a Nazi, and an Italian woman. No, and his mom. But he doesn't. Lisa is Joseph's mom, but he doesn't know she's his mom.
Obviously.
And so they all have to fight the Pillarmen, which are like half-naked bodybuilder ancient people with amazing superpower. Like
Okay.
when they touch people, they vaporize.
Oh.
But AC/DC has like boiling blood. Wamu has like tornado arms, and
Okay.
Cars has like long hair
Okay.
and blades that come out of his arms.
Cool.
And so yeah, they go through Italy and other places, during World War II. Wait, yeah, that's the time period of World War II. To defeat the Pillarmen. But they do go through a training montage with Lisa because she's really good at Hamon.
Obviously.
But Joseph doesn't know she's his mother yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then they fight AC/DC. Joseph defeats AC/DC. And then they fight Wamu in the Colosseum.
So there was a fight with Wamu. I was onto something.
Yeah. And then he defeats Wamu. But Wamu kills Caesar. And then Joseph's like,
dang.
Caesar! And he's really sad.
Hmm.
That was a very sad death. And then after that, Cars. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Stroheim like dies, but then comes back as a cyborg and starts shooting people with his belly gun.
Okay, now it sounds like you're making up the plot.
I know, it's out of context. It makes no sense.
Although my description of Umbrella Academy, I'm sure, was all over the place and didn't make sense either.
So then, when they have to battle Cars, Lisa gets stabbed and almost dies, and then Joseph's like, "Bruh, don't do that." And then he gets this stone mask, and once he gets hit by sunlight with the stone mask on, he becomes the ultimate life form, and he can like gain the power of any animal. But then Joseph takes him to a volcano, and he dies in the volcano, and then Joseph loses his arm. But then he goes back to England, attends his own funeral, and gets married.
Nice.
That's
Alright.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, I mean, I was pretty close, I think.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre show.
Yeah. So, do you think we have time to do the books as well, or do you want to save that for maybe a future episode?
We can save it.
All
we
right.
can save it.
So, yeah, that was a fun game. I hope
It was.
people found it interesting to watch or listen to.
Yeah, it was definitely weird for sure.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that. Pretty funny. So, yeah, if you liked this sort of game that we did today, let us know in the comments of the YouTube video so we can know if we should do things like this again in the future. And we didn't get to the books that we prepared, so if you want to hear us explain the plots very accurately of those, then let us know, and we will do that in the future if people want. So, yeah, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, that's it.
All right, cool. So, as always, Green Beans is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Green Beans Podcast YouTube channel, and pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, watching, or listening, and tune in next week for episode 10.
See you guys.
See ya.